From the PEP Radio Newsroom, these are the stories we are covering at this hour. When Donald Trump offered some financial advice Wednesday morning, stocks were wavering between gains and losses. But that was about to change. "This is a great time to buy DJT," he wrote on his social media platform, Truth Social, at 9:37 a.m. Less than 4 hours later, Trump announced a 90-day pause on nearly all his tariffs. Stocks soared on the news, closing up 9.5% by the end of trading. The market, measured by the S&P 500, gained back about $4 trillion, or 70% of the value it had lost over the previous 4 trading days. It was a prescient call by the president, maybe too prescient. "He's loving this control over markets, but he better be careful," said Trump critic and former White House ethics lawyer Richard Painter, noting that security laws prohibit trading on insider information or helping others to do so. The people who bought when they saw that post made a lot of money. If you think this all sounds like market manipulation, consider this. On Wednesday, April 2nd, the White House delayed Trump's announcement of what Liberation Day means from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. after the stock markets closed for the day in New York. During after hours and pre-market trading, Dow and NASDAQ futures plummeted. On Thursday, April 3rd, at the close, the Dow was down 1,679 points. On Friday, April 4th, the Dow was down an additional 2,231 points. When markets closed the following Monday, the Dow had dropped again. Donald Trump had a meeting with CEOs at the White House yesterday morning, and shortly thereafter, stock markets rebounded by an astonishing 2,963 points. Now, while Trump was making his decision to largely roll back the tariffs, U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer was testifying before the U.S. Senate, and they were grilling him with questions about how the tariffs were expected to help the average American. While facing difficult questions, Greer received a tweet indicating that the tariffs had been paused. We'll have more on that angle of this story in a moment, but first, Democratic senators are calling for an investigation. Did anyone buy or sell stocks and profit at the public's expense? Said Democratic Senator Adam Schiff in a post on the platform Blue Sky. Added Democratic Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut on X, an insider trading scandal is brewing. A key question is, was Trump already contemplating the tariff pause when he made that post? "Over the last several days, I've been thinking about it," said Trump himself when asked yesterday directly about when he arrived at his decision, but then added to the confusion, stating, fairly early this morning. Asked for clarification on the timing in an email to the White House later, a spokesperson didn't answer directly, but defended Trump's post as part of his job. "It is the responsibility of the President of the United States to reassure markets and Americans about their economic security in the face of non-stop media fear-mongering," wrote White House spokesman Kush Desai. Another curiosity of the posting was Trump's sign-off with his initials. DJT is also the stock symbol for Trump Media and Technology Group, the parent company of the president's social media platform, Truth Social. It's not clear if Trump was saying buy stocks in general or Trump Media in particular. The White House was asked, but didn't address that either. Trump includes DJT on his posts intermittently, typically to emphasize that he has personally written the message. The ambiguity about what Trump meant didn't stop people from pouring money into that stock. Trump Media closed up 22.67%, soaring twice as much as the broader market. A stunning performance by a company that lost $400 million last year and is seemingly unaffected by whether tariffs would be imposed or paused. Trump's 53% ownership stake in the company, now in a trust controlled by his oldest son, Donald Trump Jr., rose by $415 million on the day. Trump media was bested, albeit by only 0.02 of a percentage point, by another Trump administration stock pick, Elon Musk's Tesla. Now, regarding the U.S. trade representative, President Donald Trump's trade negotiator came under fire Tuesday from senators unnerved by the president's sweeping global tariffs, a market meltdown, and the heightened risk of recession from an upended global trading order. It seems like we've decided to begin a trade war on all fronts, said Republican Senator Tom Tillis of North Carolina. He said he wanted to know who in the Trump administration he should hold responsible and choke if the tariffs fail and Americans suffer from higher prices and slower economic growth. I wish you well, he told U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer, but I am skeptical. Greer addressed the Senate Finance Committee a day after global markets swung wildly, and some business leaders lambasted the president's aggressive bid to raise the tariffs on almost every nation on earth. Greer testified that Trump's tariffs are already getting results, convincing about 50 countries to come to the negotiating table to reduce their own trade barriers. He said, for example, that Vietnam is cutting its own tariffs on apples, almonds, and cherries. The import taxes are designed to reduce America's massive trade deficits, but Greer conceded that it will take time and that the adjustment might be challenging at times. Lawmakers, including Republicans, are getting jittery about Trump's trade wars, especially since stocks collapsed after he announced broad tariffs last Wednesday. The market rebounded Tuesday on hopes that negotiations will convince the president to lower or suspend the tariffs, which inevitably he did. The biggest of which are set to take effect at midnight Wednesday, and again, those were put off. However, the 125% tariff against China is still in effect, and the 10% tariffs on every country practically on the planet are also still in effect. Now, if this isn't a case of market manipulation and an attempt to rig the markets to benefit Trump's wealthier donors, then why didn't the nation's top trade ambassador, Jamieson Greer, not know what was happening until the social media post that happened during his testimony before the United States Senate? We will follow up on these stories as news develops. In the meantime, be sure to download the Live 365 app to take PEP Radio with you wherever you go. And now, back to more music on PEP Radio.